Who am I? That's a very big question, but but what I do, I'm an actor and a self-taught actor. I've been working in acting for 4 years. Before that, I worked as a carpenter, and before that, I worked as a life coach. And right now, I'm experiencing some interesting thing in the fields of acting. I'm going to be in the 4th and last season of The Bridge. I think you know that in UK. And yeah, I've done a lot of interesting projects here in Denmark and just worked my way up in the system. I'm 32 years old, originally from Iran. And my parents came to Denmark in '84. I was 1 year old, so I grew up in Denmark. And my base is Copenhagen. And I also do some life coaching and some lectures.
You've been acting for the last 4 years, I believe. Alexander Behrang Keshtkar. Is that the correct pronunciation?
That's correct. Very well.
A name that the world is going to know very well quite soon.
Hopefully.
How did the spark for acting happen?
Well, I think it was always there. I remember when I was a kid, I was interested in acting, and I watched a lot of TV. Actually, before I started school, I could speak English because I had a TV in my room, and I would watch all the American. About 4 years ago, something changed, and I had a conversation with my dad. And I don't see him a lot, and I don't talk with him a lot. But I asked him, Dad, what was the strongest memory you have of me when I was a kid? And he told me this story, and it totally surprised me. And the story was that when I was very young, I was in this play for kids, and they were like, oh, my parents were like, oh, we got to go see this. It's going to be boring, And it was like. And it started the play for children, and all the parents were there, and of course it was boring. And he said, the play is a Danish adventure kind of thing, written by H.C. Andersen. It's called Klodshands, and he said you had a very small part in this play. You were playing like with like the spirit, and you were like presenting the next soldier to the king. And he said everything was so boring and so unprofessional, and so nobody was really taking it serious until you said your first line. And what happened was you took one step forward and you said, "Næste ridder fremtræder kongen." And he said in that moment it was like everybody woke up and took everything serious. And it totally changed everything. So my dad was telling me this story about 4 years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I always wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to do acting. And I'd worked as a carpenter for 1 year, and the guy I was working with, he was actually an actor, and he was in 2 big things. A mini TV film series, and we talked about it, and we kind of joked about it. And so I quit my job as a carpenter, and I had nothing. I just saved some money, and then I actually I saw, I went on the internet, and then I went like how to be an actor, or something like that, acting schools, how to be an actor. And it was like there was like this one school came up, the Danish Film Acting Academy, and it had like this Hollywood star, and it was like Hollywood and like all the cliches. And I was like, whoa, wow. So I wrote them. I was like, hey, and I saw on their website they had like this this program for like a 4-week program every Friday at 4 or something like that. And I signed up, and I also wrote. That was like the first thing I did. The second thing I did was I wrote an email to a very well-respected, well-known Danish actor by the name of Jesper Christensen. Mr. White in James Bond. And he's a Danish actor. And I wrote him, "Hi Jesper, I think you're an amazing actor, and I was wondering if you wanted to be my mentor. I'm totally new, and I want to be an actor." And I didn't expect to hear from him, but it was a long shot. But I found his email on his website, so his number and email was on the website, so I could just contact him. And a week passed, and he wrote me back. I was like, "Hi Alexander, thank you for the email and the link, the video." I sent him a video of a talk I do, which is called "From Perker to Projektleder." And I was so surprised, and it was like, "Your video looks really interesting." And I was totally blown away. I was like, "Whoa, is this happening?" So we met up, and he said, "I would love to help you, and my best advice to you is do as much acting as possible. Just do, it doesn't matter if it's a small thing, it's a big thing, anything you can get, just do it." So I did. For 4 years, I did everything for free. I did, we have a lot of film schools in Denmark, and they have a very high level, and they, do short films, and films are 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And I just, started doing all these short films, and I got material for my short reel, and got experience. I got the script, and at the same time I was working all kinds of jobs, to pay for, doing all this free work. The second thing he told me was it's not a bad idea to apply for one of the state schools. We have like one state school and a couple of other schools, and I did, and that was an amazing experience too. So I went to the program I enlisted in, and when we were finished in the night, I came out and I was like, I had so much fun. And it was, I've never been good in school. I always, I had a very, tough upbringing. I was raised in kind of a ghetto, and even though my parents were from good families, I got into crime and got into a gang and did all kinds of really bad stuff and got out of it before I turned 18. So it was, it was so amazing coming out of that, class of acting, and it was so fun. It was like one of those things, I don't know if you remember when you were a kid and you were playing this game, and it was so fun that you were playing it for 5 hours, but it felt like, boom, 2 minutes just passed. I was like, is it already dinner? And it was just like that tingly feeling of joy and purpose, and it was just amazing. And I just, I kind of struggled for 4 years trying to kind of like find out how to do it, because nobody would tell me, or nobody would show me, nobody would kind of share information about how to do it. Nobody, not even at the school I was, they would just teach the kind of techniques, but nobody really told. Eventually I found out that there's like all these schools, and you can apply for the schools, and there's also film schools. You can do short films and work up a resume, and actually some of them go out to be really good directors, and there's theater, where to go. And then I found out there's like about 10 Danish casting directors. Then I found out there was something called a headshot and a show reel, and how to put out a resume, and it was just crucial to be present among these 10 casting directors. So all these small things, I wrote them. Hi, my name is Alexander. I want to be, I'm new in the acting business. Here's my headshot and my resume, and would you want to meet up for a cup of coffee? And because they have like these databases with actors, and it's really important to be there. And I found out all this by myself. Found their emails, telephone numbers and everything, and what to do, what not to do, and I just followed my interest and stopped listening to, because you always have this, no, it's not possible, and it's not gonna work, and it's not for you, and you're not good enough, blah 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 blah. And
can I interrupt you there?
Can
you remember? It would be very interesting to know some stories of the people who said it wasn't possible for you. Well, the sort of scenarios. You turned up. Yeah. They said, no, you can't do this. It's not for you. If you could just tell us a couple of those stories, would be really interesting.
Yeah, of course. One of the first stories was I was actually working as a sales and marketing manager before life coach. Before I got a steady job as a life coach for the state of Copenhagen. And I had a really good job and a really good career and everything. I came out of business school. And I just, I got fed up with it. And I told everybody I wanted to do something different. And I was introduced to life coaching and coaching. And I said, I want to do that full time. So I quit my job. And my mom, my network, everybody around me was just like, are you crazy? You have this well-paid job. You have everything you want. You have a really good career going for you. It's going to look really bad on your resume that you just stop being a sales and marketing manager and then go to a different field. And at that time in Denmark, it was a really big thing. Everybody wanted to be a life coach. Everybody. You could become a life coach because it's not like a state thing. It's like everybody. It's not a protected title. Everybody could become a life coach. So I quit my job and I started doing these, private, courses. And after about 2 years, I got a job offer. And my, before that, my mom was like, especially my mom. Moms can be very tough. Don't do that. It's dangerous. You'll never get a job. And what are you doing? And I'm not gonna pay for it. And that's just stuff she says, but eventually every time I ask her for help, she helps me. So, but my best friend and my girlfriend at that time, and so like everybody, most people think you're crazy when you just stop doing something. When you're successful with something, you stop doing that and do something totally different. But as I told you about, I think it was 2 years after, I got this call, and I was like, "Hey, Alex, we've been practicing together at this place, and I think you're really cool. Do you want a job in the state of Copenhagen, doing life coach full time?" And I was like, "Whoa, yeah, what?" And so I did that for a year, and it's like, and I stopped after that, after a year, because in the state, there's so many rules and there's so many things you gotta do, and it was kind of killing the core job of being a life coach. And I was like, okay, I made it. I was like, whoa, I made it. I wanted to be a life coach full time with a high salary, and I got everything I wanted. I said, okay, now I want to try something new. And I always wanted to do this carpentry. And again, everybody was like, are you crazy? What are you doing? And my mom, she was totally out of it. She was like, you quit your job, your well-paid job doing life coaching? I don't even know what life coaching is, but you're getting money to do it, and you quit it? And I was like, yeah, I wanted to be a carpenter. And she was like, you wanted to be what? did you know in Iran, carpenters are the lowest in the system? And I was like, yeah, Mom, this is just something I want to do. I want to try it out. And she was like, you are crazy. And so I did that for a year, and it was a great success, and I learned a lot and did a lot of interesting projects. And after a year, I quit that and started acting. And when I quit that, it was the same story. Everybody was just like, what are you doing? You are all over the place. And I did. I must be honest to say I was scared. I was scared. How would I make a living, and what would I do? How would I do it? And I had no answers. The only thing I knew was that there was this knowing. I knew that I wanted to find out, what is this? What was the life coaching? What was that? And then carpentry. What is it? How is it? How does it work? What is it? How does it feel to get up, 6 in the morning, off until, 6 in the evening? How is that, working with wood and again, with, I just knew I wanted to, I wanted to find out, what is this acting thing? And, as I told you, I got this tingling feeling of being good at something and enjoying it, and the joy of it, the joy I brought to it. It was just amazing. And yeah, and I just continued doing it and doing it and doing it, and every time finding out a little bit more about, getting the right information in, and this is so random. I mean, you can't even imagine about, So the thing is, I found out there's these casting directors, and eventually I started adding them on Facebook, which you're not really supposed to do, but I don't really follow the rules, so I kind of added them on Facebook, and they, accepted my, request. And I kind of post all kind of crazy stuff. And this is how I got the part in The Bridge, which is totally crazy. So
I'd like to hear that story. Yeah. Yeah.
So the casting director for The Bridge actually knows me, and he did a casting with me, which went really bad. It was awful. It was for a future film, and it was really, really bad. So this is what happened. I post a video, and this is what I say in the video. I swear, this is what I say. Hi, my name is Alexander, and I just want to spread some love. Just remember, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you're amazing. That was the kind of video I was putting out. And he calls me up, and he says, hi, Alex, I just saw your video on Facebook. I have this part, and I was wondering if you wanted to come in for a casting. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I come in, and turns out it's The Bridge. And, I worked on the lines, and, we do the casting and everything. And I was like, whoa, it was amazing. And the director wasn't really happy. The director wasn't really happy with, no, not really. And and the casting director for The Bridge, he told me, Alex, can you send me the video you did a long time ago, the one I did 4 years ago that I sent to Jesper Christensen, Mr. White James Bond. Can you send me that video on YouTube? Yeah, I was like, yeah, sure. And I sent him the video so he could see that I could play aggressive kind of. So I went on to the second part of the casting where the director was there, and Tua Lindhardt, which is one of the stars in the TV show. And so we did the scene, and he was happy about it, and the casting director called me a week later and said, you got the part. I was like, whoa. And it was like a big thing. And so that was really random. And before that, I got another part in a film playing against some of the best Danish actors, and I was actually in LA doing some classes at a studio, and I get this call from a casting director, which I also added on Facebook, which you're not supposed to do. And she did a casting with me for a TV show which is called Rita. I think you have it actually on Netflix in both the UK and the US. And she was like, "Hi Alex, I want you to help me find a jihad kind of type with a long beard for this film. Ole Borndal is doing this film. And I've helped, some of the casting directors find ethnic characters because of my network and people I know. And you're going to get this amount of money." And I tried everybody. Everybody was like, "No, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it." And I was like, "Hey, what about I send, a self-tape where I tape myself and I send it and ask him what he thinks." My beard wasn't that long, but it was, kind of okay. And I sent it and he loved it. And he was like, "We want Alex." So they flew me from LA to Denmark to do the recording. It was only 2 days, and then flew me back again to LA so I could finish the thing I was doing in LA. And that was also totally random. So I was doing all these things and, connecting with people, and people started to notice me, and, "Oh yeah, what about Alex?" And, it was being at the right place at the right time. You can actually do something to build that platform. You can, connect with the right people, have a good CV, a good show reel, in the area you're working with, have experience in that area, so people know that you're good at what you do. And then people eventually kind of started noticing me. And then another random story. So I wrote all these management companies in Denmark, and I was like, "Hey, would you consider taking me?" And everybody was like, "No, I'm sorry, we're already full." And then I landed the bridge, and then I promised 2 of the management companies to write them back about what's going to happen with the bridge, and both of them wanted to sign me after I got the bridge. So I just chose one of them after some negotiation, and I swear to God, a couple of weeks later, there was like this on Spotlight, which is like the biggest UK internationally online casting portal, for this part in a really big TV show. And I was like, "Hey, I wrote my management company. This looks interesting." And they were like, "Yeah, we already know. We're working on it." So I did a self-tape on that TV show, and we sent it directly to the casting director, and they loved it. So they shortlisted me for that TV show, and it's a really big thing. And it was, again, just at the right time, at the right moment.
So that's in the pipeline as well.
Yep. So they're going to be shooting really, really soon. So I'm not going to be waiting, a lot, like 4 months. They're going to be shooting really soon, so I will know if I got it or not. Getting it or not getting it, the casting directors loved it. So now they know me. The casting directors for this big TV show, they know me. I'm within their, consciousness. There's this guy. They know, okay, he's there. And this is my experience, is that, no matter what field you're in, being in people's, consciousness, they know that I'm there, and there was this guy who did this who was really good. Who is that guy? We want to, So basically, nothing is impossible. It's the thing that would hold me back in some situations is my own thoughts and my own feelings, and you just don't listen to them. I know it's difficult, but just don't listen to them.
You follow the teachings of somebody who is regarded as one of the leading influences in spirituality in the world.
Yes.
Tell us about him.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Can you tell us about him?
Yes. I wrote a book. I was can't remember how I came in contact with this book. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This German weird little guy with this thick German accent. And I started reading it, and it just blew me away. I was just, whoa. So his idea is that you are not your thoughts and you're not your feelings. You are the thing, the soul that can observe your thoughts, that can see your thoughts, that can see your feelings, or the thing that is experiencing your feelings and your thoughts. And this was just mind-blowing to me. It was like, because I grew up in a home where my parents were communist socialists, no religion or anything. I remember one time when I was a kid, I asked my mom, what's my religion? The kids I'm playing with in the street, they're all Muslims, but the kids in school, they're Christians. So what am I? And she was like, you know what? You're nothing. I mean, you're nothing of. You can choose to be a Muslim, you can choose to be a Christian, but you don't have to, as long as you believe in yourself. So I've always, been looking into wisdom and, psychology, philosophy, and this book was just amazing. I really felt like he had all the answers, and he knew exactly how I was thinking and what I was thinking, and he had some really good answers to some of the questions about life,
At what point did you start reading his works in your life? How old were you, and how does that correspond to what you were doing and how you changed your world around?
I would say about maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years back, I started reading Tolle, and it changed everything, because my experience was I was putting a lot of importance to stuff externally, like, having success and doing what I want and like, and everything externally, and not so much, importance to how I handle my feelings and my thoughts. So reading the book and doing some of the exercises and following the philosophy or the wisdom in The Power of Now, and also A New Earth, which is a second book he wrote. It's really amazing. It was like, don't take life so seriously. It was just, we're just here to enjoy. Do not take everything so seriously. We don't need all this pain to be creative. We don't need to, it doesn't need to be so, hard, and life is not a battle. It's just being at peace. And my old teacher from the life coach thing, he had this saying. He was like, most people, they live a doobie-doo life. Doobie-doo life. And you're like, what is doobie-doo life? Doobie-doo life means I have to do this, then I can be at peace. Right? So I have to clean the house, I have to buy groceries, I have to get the kids, and then I can relax and have a good weekend, right? But what about if you turn it around? What about if you have a be-do life? So be at ease, be calm, be at peace, and then do whatever you want to do. How does that change everything? And that was exactly the same Tala was saying. He was saying, start from a point of balance and ease and joy, and then do whatever you want to do, because then you bring something to what you're doing. You bring peace, you bring joy, you bring happiness, you bring positive energy to what you do. And that's the most important thing. And then if you succeed or not, you're already a success, because you're bringing the joy to what you're doing. And that is a success in itself. And that will actually lead to more success. And that means if you fail at what you're doing, it's not important. Because it is not important. Because you're already a success. So if you have that feeling that you're already a success, and you don't have to do anything to be who you are, you can just relax. And you can just enjoy whatever it is. And that was, in my words, the most crucial thing. And sometimes I do forget it. I get kind of caught up in my thoughts and my feelings. If I don't succeed, all those thoughts, and then I kind of like a zombie. I kind of like, whoa. I kind of like wake up from a dream, and I'm like, hey, Alex, what's the most important thing? It's just to be at peace, and then everything else will come by itself.
What are his views on immortality and religion, and the quest for human beings to leave some sort of legacy, whether it is what they create in life or sort of more physically children? What are his views on that?
Well, in my words, about his words, is that we are all one. So you are me and I am you. So consciousness, which is God, is all of us. And some of us are just less conscious, but consciousness is still who we are. So if you have success, I have success. If I give you something, I'm giving myself something. If I'm mistreating you, abusing you, physically or verbally, I'm abusing myself. And this puts everything into a new perspective if we are all one. There's just one legacy. Right?
It's a little bit like the what astronauts say they experience when they go up into space, isn't it?
Exactly.
They have something which is called the overview effect, when they suddenly have this epiphany, when they realize that.
Yes, correct. And what Tala also says is that if somebody does something stupid or wrong or bad, the greatest gift we can give them and ourselves is to forgive them, because they do not know what they're doing. If you're unconscious about what you're doing, it's not up to you. You don't have a choice. So we have to forgive, or we don't have to, but the best solution for everybody is to forgive. There's so much power in forgiveness. So it's like forgiving yourself for doing something stupid. If you can forgive yourself, you're very well off. I mean, it's a really big thing. Oh, I forgive myself. Again, not taking life too seriously. So that's also another point he has. Like, God is within us. It's not like somebody up there. It's God is within us. We are God. We can access that, state, or that, enlightenment. And I feel like the more I get into that state and into that alignment, the more stuff just comes, the more success. And it's not important, it's not important what I do or what I don't do, but the more I just relax and just enjoy, the more it just comes to me.
If there was anyone in the world that you could meet, who would that be?
That would definitely be Eckhart Tolle. And
And what would you like to ask him?
Well, I would like to ask him, apparently he's enlightened, right? So he has all this wisdom and everything. And I would want to ask him if he experiences like negative thoughts and negative feelings at any time, or is it always just, at peace? Or does it kind of like, sneak in and, kind of wants to take over the system? Or if he's totally free, totally free, totally enlightened, totally Buddha, totally God, all forgiving, or those emotions still kind of get him and he's just able to, be at peace with it. So they arise, but are you still at peace with it, or doesn't it arise at all? The negative thoughts or negative feelings. How is it? How would it be? I would definitely want to, I would be interested to know how that works in him. Because I think that the feelings will always be, but our ability to be at peace with those feelings and not let those feelings and thoughts change our behavior, I think is the most important thing, the crucial thing, crucial thing.
How did somebody like you end up in a gang?
Well, when I was a kid, I think I was a very sensitive kid. And my parents came from two very different cultures. My mom was from a very rich family, and my dad was from a poor military family with a lot of violence in the family. My mom told me she never knew what shouting was or what a headache was when she was growing up, because everything was so calm and so good. And then she meets my dad in, the revolution in Iran, and, they had this socialism, communism thing in common, and they fall in love. And she thinks that is like true love, my mom. And my dad was abusive, violent, both mentally and physically. And they moved to Denmark with 2 kids, me and my brother. And, his way of being affected me a lot. I had so much anger in me. I had so much pain in me. And he was like, "You're never going to amount to anything. You're nothing. And, shut up. When we're talking, you're not supposed to talk." And he was physically and emotionally abusive. And the worst part was not the beating and stuff like that. It was emotional, putting us down, and that was the worst part. So what happened was, they always put us into white schools. They would always put us into white. So it was me and my brother in white schools, and I couldn't, because I had this, pain from home. I couldn't really relate to the other kids, because the other kids in my eyes were so childish. I mean, they had never experienced the pain I had, or the violence in our home. So they were really kids. They were real, and I couldn't identify with them. Not even maybe some of the older kids I could kind of identify with, but not the younger kids. So I turned to the streets, where I would hang out with kids from Middle Eastern families. Some of them middle class, and we would hang out in the street, and we wanted to, we kind of found like a common identity in the group, this group identity of being young kids, and not caring about school, and kind of want to being tough, and I started stealing, and then it evolved from that, and looking back on it, it was always trying to find identity and trying to find a place where I could be someone. I could have some status, right? That was always, the driving force in everything I did. I always wanted to be, considered somebody important, or somebody big, or somebody, right, in the group. So to do that, you would have to do more and more crazy stuff, right? Because then you would kind of like, oh, this guy, he's getting a lot of money and he's doing he's doing crime. So it just one thing led to another, and it was crazy. I was really young and started doing some really crazy stuff. And eventually, I got caught and a couple of times, and I had like this fight with my dad, and my parents got divorced, and I remember maybe I was 16 or 17. I don't really remember, but I ended up in jail, and I had a breakdown, and they transferred me to the mental hospital. A 16-year-old kid with adults, some of them pedophiles and some of them like crazy people, and it was a crazy period. But then one of my teachers from one of the private schools my parents had sent us to, I had a really good relationship with him. It was one of the only adults I kind of had like this really cool relationship, and he was, I would meet up with this kind of attitude in class. He wouldn't even bother. He was like, okay, welcome to class, and he so my really tough facade, he wouldn't kind of take it in. He was just, oh, okay, that's just who he is, and so it kind of crumbled, this kind of tough way of being, and he found out in class that I was really good at analysis in these Danish novels and poems, and I think because I had the past I had and the upbringing I had, I could kind of like read between the lines what the author was saying, right? So in his classes I was a great success. Everything else was chaos, but in his classes he managed to get the best out of me, and that was what really saved my school period too.
So a key thing with people is to have somebody to believe in them. If somebody sees the good in you, would you say it helps you to see the good in yourself?
Of course. I mean, I think especially as a young adult or young kids, it's so important to have somebody, of course it's important to have somebody that knows that you can do this, you can do it. I have this kind of, I don't know what to call it, but belief is not a big word in my mind. It's more valuable to me to know than to believe. So, for example, I know now that I'm a great actor. I know I've done some stuff and I've got some feedback and people are just crazy about it. So I know I'm good at acting, right? I know under the right circumstances, I'm a really good actor. So what's more, what's more valuable? Knowing that I'm a good actor or believing it? No. Right? To know,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So, because when you believe, you can be in doubt. So I think that in our talk about this teacher who helped me, she knew that, oh, Alex, he actually knows something about, reading between the lines. He didn't believe in me. He just knew, whoa, okay, there's something here that this little kid knows that the rest of the class doesn't know, right? And he was like, okay, so I'm going to cultivate that, right? I'm going to make sure that when he comes to class, even though he hasn't read the text, what he would do was, he knew that I never read the text, so, or the short story or whatever. So he would go and print it out, hand it out, put us into groups and read it and do an analysis of it, and then the class would start. And then I would put out my hand, I would say this and this and this, and he was like, yes, that's right. And I would be like a success in his classes. So he knew, he kind of found out really fast, oh, there's an interest here. He knew that there was an interest, and he knew that there was an ability. So I think knowing is more valuable than believing, right? Also, I have students now myself. I'm a mentor and also for aspiring actors. Even though I'm very, very early in my career, I have people coming to me, and I always say to them, the only thing you really need is knowing that you're interested in acting. That's basically all you need. Just follow that. That's your lead. If you follow your interest, it will lead you somewhere. So you don't have to believe that you like acting. You know that you like acting, right? So just follow that lead. That will lead you somewhere really good. So yeah, so he knew that I was good at that. And
are you still in touch with him?
Yes.
Are you allowed, or are we allowed to know his name? Or is that
he wants to stay anonymous.
That's fine, no problem.
I actually had a news crew up at my school, and they did an interview and stuff, and he just wants to be anonymous. He's not the type of guy that wants to be exposed, and he just want to be himself, but for me it was the best thing that ever happened, because when I was in prison, so he came when I was in prison at the psychiatric hospital, which was like a closed prison kind of thing for mental patients with crime affiliated stuff. So he came there and he's like, Alex, you got to finish your school and you got to move on, and I would like to help you. So he would take the stuff from the school, the exams, paper and stuff, and the text and everything, and I would read and stuff in prison. And then when I got out, I took the exam, and I got my, the exam, and I went to high school, and he helped me get into a really nice high school. So I moved from my mom and parents' house. My parents were divorced, so my mom's house. I moved from that environment to his apartment in the city, and I was there for 4 years as I was studying in high school, and then moved on, and then everything was good. So I kind of, I put my past life, I was finished with that, and I started a new chapter. And when I started in high school, I could totally be a new me, right? I didn't have to be that tough kind of character. I could start, and I did. I took that opportunity, and I was ready. So he got me at the right point too. I was ready to change, right? I was ready to do something new. So I started all over again. No friends. I had to make new friends and new network and everything. And it was tough. It was tough because I'm dyslexic. So it was really tough. He helped me do all my papers and everything. And it was so funny because at the exams, when I was doing like writing and everything, I would get really bad grades. But then when I had to hand in papers, it was like perfect. Would help me with the papers.
If he is listening in the future to this interview, watching this interview, do you have a message for him?
Well, he knows that I really appreciate what he did for me, and actually, he's helping another kid now, a refugee from Iran who is a homosexual, and this kid, he got to stay in Denmark, and the state really wouldn't let him start school. So my old teacher, actually helped him get into the same school that I was in when he was teaching me. So he's doing a lot of good, and he's a really cool person and helped me a lot. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him, because I would just have gone back to the old ways. And so big thanks to him. But he knows that I really appreciate his help. And I've had a lot of those people in my life that have helped me. I've had a lot of help too. A lot of people, have helped me. I'm very grateful for that too, because I needed the help, and I still need sometimes help. That's why when I need help now, I turn to Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now and A New Earth. That's where I find my balance again when I lose it, because it does happen sometimes. I lose my balance, and then I go back to.
What happens when you lose your balance? What's the thing that triggers it?
Oh, well, it can be, thoughts about the future, negative thoughts about the future. Oh, how am I going to, how am I going to do a good job in the bridge? This character is going to be an amazing part. It's going to be really, really one of the biggest things I've done, and the change in the character and the ending, everything is just really, really, really dramatic. How am I going to do that? Oh, is it going to be good? And oh my God, what if I just, what if it's going to be really bad?
And we get to see the result of this the fourth series in 2017, don't we? Next year.
Yes, correct.
So do you think the pitfalls are necessary to remind ourselves? Not at all.
No.
Just think positive.
It's not so much positive. It's more balance, peace. Okay. Positive always have like a negative side. So, they have this saying, I think in Buddhism, that in happiness there's also unhappiness. Right? So I think it's peace, and when you have that peace, from that comes what we call positive and joy, and so being at peace. I mean, Tolle, he has like this analogy. He says that human beings are like the ocean. It can be totally crazy on top, windy, or it can be really, 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 really bad, and but at the bottom it's always peaceful. Right? That's human beings. And sometimes we forget that we are the whole ocean, also the bottom, and we think that we're the storm on the top, right? This is what happens when I start thinking about, the future, the projects I'm going to do. Oh my God, am I going to be good? Or is it going to be totally, catastrophe? What's going to happen? Then I start, believing that I'm the storm on the top, and forget everything, all the peace at the bottom. I forget that I'm the whole ocean and not just the top. This is what happens. It's a human condition. So peace, finding, and I think that's our identity also, because a lot of people, I don't say I'm an actor. I say I'm a human being, and I love, doing acting. It's one of my interests. One of my other interests is I'm a vegan, so vegan food is a really big interest in our home. Yoga is a very big interest. Wisdom and philosophy, I love it. Especially wisdom is an interest I have. It's not who I am. Like, acting is not who I am. Doing lectures or being a mentor, doing mentorship is an interest I have. It's not my identity. And, I think where a lot of people, what happens is a lot of people, they put their identity into what they do. So, and this makes it really tough to do anything really authentic, because when you put your identity into your work, this is who I am. If somebody says something, you take it really personally because they're saying something about you. But that's not true. That's an illusion. It's just something you do. It's just something you're interested about. That thing you're doing can never be representative of who you are. Never. We are so deep. I mean, we are so much. We can never just be a function that we are doing. Be it acting, be it teacher, being prime minister, being a politician. Your identity can never be that function, because it's such a small thing in life, that function. So, realizing that, it makes it so much easier to do acting, because it's just something I do. I don't have to take it personally. I just have to remember that, and sometimes we lose that, again, because of the human condition. But getting back to that is the most important thing.
And do you have a great interest in other people's human stories?
Yes, very much. I love talking to people. I always, no matter where I go in the world, and I've traveled all over the world, the U.S., East Coast, West Coast, all over the U.S., I've been to Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, all over Europe. I always talk to people. I always find friendships, and I'm always curious to know, how their lives are, what they're doing, and how they're doing it, and what their passion is. I always, ask people, what is your interest at the moment? I never ask people, what do you do? Or who are you? I always say, what kind of stuff is occupying your interest at the moment? What is interesting to you? If I'm, at a reception or, meeting new people, I really, really emphasize asking about their interests more than who are you? Because you can't answer that, basically. And most people, when you ask them, who are you? They tell you what? They tell you their function. So you are reinforcing something which I think is not so productive for the human condition.
Well, thank you very much indeed for telling me your human story so far, Alexander.
Thank you very much.
And I hope that you will come back one day when you are a Hollywood movie star and when you've appeared in Series 4 of The Bridge next year. All the best with that extremely exciting adventure. And thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great honor, and I would love to come back and tell you all the new stories about what's going on.
Thank you very much. I'll hold you to that.
I promise. Thank you so much.
That's inspiration you are. And my goodness, I'm going to read Eckhart Tolle's book. Might do me some good as well.
It's amazing. You can even find it as an audiobook.
Okay, well, all the best. Wow. Beginning of an amazing adventure. Mind you, your whole life sounds like an amazing adventure. But I hope it will continue in that vein. And I will be asking you, but you don't have to give me an answer yet, is whether you would be interested in being a mentor on the platform. It's not a time-consuming thing. It can be, you can give people 2 minutes or 1 minute or, every 6 months if you like. I've got the CEO of the American Institute of Physics, a mentor. I've got lots of academic people on the sort of educational side of things, but you would be the first creative person. So if you would be interested in doing that, I'd love to have you there as well.
It sounds very interesting, and if my time allows it, I would love to do it.
Okay, so what would be you would be labelled a mentor on the platform, and then
Yes.
As and when people contact you, you can say yes or no, or just fire off a one sentence answer.
Sure.
It can be as time consuming or as not as you like, but you would do me a big honour if you wouldn't mind doing that. That would be fantastic.
I would love to do it.
Okay, brilliant. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thanks
I really
a lot,
appreciate
Alexander.
it.